Meeting of the Wyomissing Zoning Hearing Board to order. This is a continuance of the meeting that I don't remember the date, but we'll get it quickly. July 9th, concerning the relief for Palmer Chocolates and their requests for construction and so on. It is not our normal course of action to discuss openly or reveal publicly the thinking behind a decision made by this board. I think this Palmer decision is important, perhaps wide-reaching and possibly controversial, and our rationale should be explained. It's been suggested that a decision in favor of Palmer's request would take advantage of some of our citizens who may not have the influence or the means to protest. That thinking ignores the reason that Wyomissing exists in the very first place. Wyomissing doesn't exist because someone decided we should have a nice suburb to the west of Reading. It exists because immigrants moved outside the city to a manufacturing site where they could make stuff, without the restrictions of space and government in Reading. A beautiful and diverse suburb grew up because of industry, not in spite of it. As the companies grew, the community prospered, and everyone at every level benefited. This was a place to both live and work. We're sitting in the home of one of those founding immigrants, and it's only a block from the factory and office. Now we have one of the last organizations in the borough that actually makes something, asking us for an opportunity to continue here, but they don't have the legal leverage to do so. That means that the only rationale for allowing the changes they need is if they can pledge to continue to be of significant benefit to the borough, and particularly their neighborhood. Having a stable employer with good jobs within our borders is a good start, but in this case, I believe we have to ask more. First thing is that just meeting zoning requirements for landscaping, lighting, noise, etc. is not enough. They are going to have to go beyond what is normally asked to assure that the site blends into the neighborhood. These additional conditions must be part of any decision for relief that is granted. The second thing is security. The only way the neighborhood can be assured that they can get help with a problem is if there's 24/7 on-site security. I would even suggest that Palmer create a safe zone around their plant that includes the properties immediately affected by their presence. The safe zone would see regular patrols and a regular pattern of interaction with Palmer security. This should also include the ability to immediately contact them if there is a truck where it shouldn't be, an employee sitting on their front stoop, or if there is any other violation of the social order of the neighborhood. While I applaud your CEO for making himself available to the neighbors, it is not likely that he is free to deal with problems immediately. If a truck is idling in front of my house, I want somebody to do something about it right now. Another part of this neighborhood outreach could be an annual meeting of the affected residents hosted at the plant. The whole point would be to regularly assure the immediately affected neighbors that they are a protected class, and Palmer's commitment to them is constant and ongoing. Living next to Palmer could very well be a privilege. With these proposals in mind, as chairman of the zoning board, I make the motion that all the relief requested be granted, subject to a detailed list of enforceable conditions to be outlined by our solicitor.
And those conditions would be as follows. Number one, all site lighting existing on the proposed property must include a photometric lighting plan that demonstrates no more than 0.01 foot candle spillover on any property that is currently a residential use or zoned for residential use. Fixtures that face away from the residence should be backlit controlled to limit spillover onto adjacent properties. Number two, all site lighting existing and proposed shall be full cutoff. That means no upward light is emitted. Number three, the arm Palmer frontage along Van Reed Road must be screened with plantings and or fence to create high density buffer, except for areas limited by clear site triangles or site distance requirements. A landscaping plan prepared by a registered landscape architect must be prepared and submitted to demonstrate compliance with the condition. Number four, signage shall be placed around the perimeter of the property with emergency contact information so neighbors can report issues immediately. The sign should be approved by the zoning officer. Number 5, additional directional signage should be provided on site to direct vehicles and prevent them from idling on public streets. Signs again must be approved by the zoning officer. Number 6, additional security shall be provided on the site. That should be 24/7 live security on the site, not just somebody that's monitoring remotely. And the security that should be along the frontage of Van Reed Road shall be patrolled and ensure that the neighboring property is not affected by instances such as trespassing, the idling trucks, those items that we heard through testimony at the hearing. The reports, so they also want an annual security report to be submitted to the borough detailing the security measures that are in place and the incidents that were reported and how those incidents were resolved. The reports may also include employee training and other protocols that were put in place by Palmer each year to mitigate noise, light, sound, trespassing, things of that nature. Number 7, there must be a designated employee pickup and drop-off space in the rear of the building facing Spring Street so that vehicles are not parked out on the public streets in front of the residents who are picking up employees. And then what we're also going to include is the standard conditions that we would be using for our hearings, which are as follows. The applicant is bound by all testimony and exhibits that were produced at the hearing. The next one is that the applicant shall comply with all the regulations, ordinances of the borough code and their rules and regulations. The next one is that applicant shall use and develop the property in compliance with all federal, state, local laws, rules and regulations. The next one is the applicant shall apply for and obtain all necessary permits and pay for all permits that are required for any work that's going to be conducted at the property. The next one, the applicant may not expand or alter the relief that has been granted here today without making additional request or application to the zoning hearing board. The next one is that failure or implementation shall be granted. It must be commenced within 1 year of the date of the written decision. The next one is failure to comply with any of the conditions may mean immediate revocation of the relief that's granted. And finally, that of course, this decision will be binding on any successors or signs to the property.
Is there a second to the motion?
I
All-
did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried, the relief is granted as requested, and the meeting is adjourned.